Hi, I'm Kara Perez, founder of Bravely Go, and today we're going to talk about the industrial complex that is self-care. Now, if that sounds a little bit dramatic, it is. I like to zhuzh things up a bit, but it is also important that we talk about the commodification of self-care. The public discussion around self-care, especially on social media, really has been cannibalized by spending money. Self-care on social media is now almost exclusively defined as treating yourself and spending money on yourself. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the occasional treat, far be it from me to say that, but I think exclusively defining self-care in this way is hurting all of us. It's a very shallow form of self-care that ultimately does not lead us to the habits and lifestyles that are actually best for us. Now, you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the get that Botox for you, or the let's go spend $50 on brunch and then go shopping and then get our nails done and call it self-care kind of narrative. Now, the call to action may be different for all of us. Maybe you're not getting targeted ads for restaurants or for nail care. Maybe you're getting targeted ads for, treats for your dog or a beautiful home in the Hamptons or something like that. But the underlying narrative is the same. In order to feel good, you need to spend money. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that no version of self-care should ever cost any money. Of course, I believe that there are many things that really are self-care that will require us to spend a little bit of money, and I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is this exclusive narrative that the only way to care for yourself is to spend frequently and consistently. I think that narrative is training ourselves to become numb and to require spending money to find joy, and I think that's really harmful because this kind of narrative makes it much, much harder for us to see and also actively participate in the types of self-care that are much more ultimately helpful, such as building community, seeing friends and family, exercising, making healthy choices for our body and our mind. Let's take, for example, the idea that therapy is self-care. If you're going through something difficult or you just want to check in, do a little mental health refresh, you're going to want to go to therapy, and I think you should pay your therapist. I think therapists do a lot of good work and they deserve to be paid well for that. That's an example of spending money on self-care that I think makes sense. As you learn things like your emotional triggers, that gives you tools to have a more fulfilling and more calming day-to-day life. As opposed to simply going out and buying 15 new face masks, how is that actually contributing to a more healthy life for you in the long run? And I can tell you, as somebody who recently completed 2 weeks of no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, and no alcohol, it was an extremely restricted diet that was not fun, but was self-care. I have a chronic illness that diet impacts hugely, so cutting all of the joy out of my food was a version of self-care, because ultimately it led me to a place where I can now add back in food to understand what are my triggers, what's going to make me feel like garbage, and what's going to make me feel good. And now I can design a diet for myself that makes me live a happy and healthier life, even if it ultimately means no more Oreos. And this kind of self-care is in direct opposition to what we're seeing on social media, because this diet, it was not fun. It was not cute. It was not Instagrammable. I literally ate meal after meal of just white rice and eggs, white rice and potatoes without their skin. This is not something you want to see on the grid. It was uncomfortable to do this. It was hard. It was frustrating. I cried on day 7. I'm not proud of it, but it did happen. But zoom out for a second. Think about the things in your life that are most meaningful to you or that you are really, really proud of. I'm willing to bet that they involved a degree of hardship in order for you to reach them. I know that when I think about my life, the things that I'm most proud of are some of the most challenging things in my life, not just the things that I was able to walk into CVS or, double click on Amazon and purchase. I also think this idea of spending as self-care is isolating us from others, because this type of self-care is really centered on ourselves. Now, I know that sounds a little silly because we're talking about self-care. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the self. It's focused on the self in a way that excludes us from others. This kind of spending encourages us to remove ourselves from others because other people are the problem. Take a look at this tweet that I saw the other day, where this person is once again isolating themselves from their literal friends because picking up a friend at the airport is considered inconvenient. And I get it. Look, I've picked up and dropped off a lot of people at the airport, and it is a little inconvenient. But hiring an Uber as opposed to taking your friend yourself is that isolation I'm talking about. You're remaining at home. You're not spending that time with your friend. You're not getting to know your friend more. You're not having that bonding activity. You're separated from this person that you love. And when we begin to see others exclusively as a drain on ourselves or on our money or on our lives, we isolate. And you may have seen these videos on TikTok or Instagram or IG where people talk about how, like, the phrase goes, I protected my peace a little too much and now I don't have any friends. And so we're beginning to see, especially coming out of the depths of the pandemic, where people were literally isolating, but also cutting off kind of people that they deemed toxic or that weren't good for them or that they needed to protect their peace from. And now we're seeing people realizing, oh my gosh, I've cut off a lot of people. I don't have community. I don't have friends. And I have to ask, is that really self-care? Is it really self-care to say to everyone around you, you're too draining, you're too exhausting, I cannot go out of my way for you ever, that hurts me? Is that really self-care? Because ultimately, nothing happens in a vacuum. When we are constantly told that self-care is nothing but girls' trips or bottles of wine, or like I said many times, skincare, we have to take a step back and ask, who is telling me this and who benefits from this? Advertising is everywhere, and often it's advertising, cultural forces, and other people that are dictating our choices. External factors have a huge impact on our personal decisions. So how can we combat this? What do I think is a way to kind of approach this? Well, I think the first thing is to not only ask what feels good. Ask more questions than that. Ask yourself, what do I need? What is meaningful? What is going to bring me closer to who I really want to be and how I really want to move in this world? I think we should be thinking about self-care on a larger time frame than the next 30 minutes. Think about it from a financial perspective. Is sitting down and doing your budgeting over the next 20 minutes something that feels good right now? Maybe not. Maybe you're like, oh, that's annoying or boring, or I don't really want to do that. But that is a form of self-care, because finding a way to manage your money day to day and month to month is going to lead you to hitting savings goals, to hitting investing goals, to paying off your debt, and ultimately becoming more financially stable. So we see that is a form of self-care, even though the short form version of it, the sitting down and doing the budget, feels a little uncomfortable. Reframing the time frame that we see these actions on allows us to see that sometimes self-care is hard work in the short term, but that short-term hard work leads us to those long-term rewards that we genuinely want. Several years ago, I wrote this article on our website about gifting your future self. In the article, I talk about how saving investing for retirement may mean having a little less day-to-day spending right now, but it means building wealth for your 60-year-old, 70-year-old self. And that's the lens that I like to look at self-care through. Is this a gift for my future self? Is this a gift for my best self? Is this a step down the path to being the person that I want to be? And is it restorative in a way that makes me feel good both right now and will make me feel good days, weeks, and months from now? Or is this simply a hangover, stomach ache, or credit card debt that I'm going to have to deal with tomorrow? So here are some actual self-care ideas that don't require you to tap that link in bio. Start your day with a nutritious breakfast. Work out 2 to 3 times a week. Learn a new cooking technique or a new recipe. Invite your friends over to play board games. Have a themed gathering, a trashy TV viewing party or a Halloween party. Go see a therapist. Take your medicine. Set aside 15 minutes and do your budget. Brush your teeth and floss. Go take a walk when you're bored instead of hopping on social media. Unfollow people who make you feel competitive or bad about yourself. Replace sugar with some sweetener. Meal prep for the week. Buy a reusable water bottle and have it next to you in case you get thirsty. Set up a just because date with a friend. Set up a get shit done date with a friend and knock things off your to-do list. Deep clean your bathroom. Okay, y'all, that's my little rant for the day on social media and self-care. And if you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up. That really helps our small channel. Definitely hit subscribe before you go, and I'll see you next time.